It was a cool event that we just had down at Woodruff that the mayor led, and I'll let him tell you about it. I will first just introduce the mayor as everybody knows, 61st mayor, what you want, which is an APS graduate, a Georgia Tech graduate, a Georgia State graduate. I mean, he's a local dude. So we began this discussion of downtown. It's a constant discussion, but a discussion of downtown with the mayor many, many months ago. And I will let him begin the discussion with a little opening remarks and then tell us a little bit about the event we just had.
Yeah, thanks, Rich, and thank you all for being here. It's good to see so many friends and leaders in this room today, and good to see how y'all made it from right downtown to here real quick. So you guys got your, you know how to move real quick through downtown. So we were just doing a big celebration, right? Announcement of some major funding that we're going to do towards individuals experiencing homelessness, and many other individuals that you see coming into the room right now were down there with me at that announcement. The city of Atlanta is putting $60 million into a homeless opportunity bond, and it's going to be $10 million going to come along with that from Frank Fernandez of the Community Foundation and some other philanthropic resources. We're trying to get to $120 million, and the city is leading the way with the first half of $60 million. This is the largest single investment towards homelessness in the city's history, and we just made that announcement about 30 minutes ago. And this is a commitment that is a part of my administration's goal of making sure that Atlanta is a city of opportunity for all. For everybody. These individuals that are experiencing homelessness are still residents. They are people, and they have been being served. We've done things in 2022 and in 2023 and even now in 24, but more work is needed. We are at the state of a crisis across America of housing instability, and so we have to take big steps, and that's why we took the big step today, and that step will require others to help. The goal is 120 million, so we need more of you to step up. 5 million, 2 million, 3 million, 20 million, whatever your corporate philanthropic goals are. Please consider chipping in on this group project for the city of Atlanta.
Mayor, just start with a little bit about the group project. What's the definition of group project to you?
Yeah, so as you said, I was born and raised here in Atlanta, and I'm an APS student, and APS is a part of this group project. Georgia Tech, Georgia State, we had Dr. Brian Blake was right there front and center today. So I've served in nonprofit capacity at Tech Bridge, started a program to train people how to go from poverty to prosperity in technology. And one thing I was thinking was a job was the best way to help solve people's problems. But while you're trying to get a job, you need food on your table, you need housing. So then I was like, man, we got to do something about food instability. Then you say, man, you got to do something about housing. And then you got to do something about childcare, because you might have a child where you're trying to educate yourself to get these good jobs. So the next thing I know, I'm over here cooking up something on housing. I'm over here cooking up something on food. I'm over here trying to do workforce development. And then I started realizing that this is a group project to solve all these things. It's not just one silver bullet, if you will. It's not one just magic token or coin that if you give that thing to that person, all their troubles are resolved. Everything is over. No, you need all of the business community, the nonprofit community, the philanthropic, the clergy. You need the clergy at the table. You need government, and you need the individual. They are part of the group project. So all of the above makes it possible. When I grew up in Atlanta, I went to Atlanta Public Schools by day, and then in the afternoons, I was at the Atlanta Parks and Recreation. So I was playing baseball, I was basketball, karate. I had a nonprofit, Southwest Atlanta Youth Business Organization that trained me on how to be an entrepreneur when I was like 10 10 years old. So there were days I'd be at Parks and Rec, which was a part of the group project as government. There were days I was with the nonprofits, that was, the organization that was training me on business. And then I was at my church on Sunday, and that was a part of the group project that made me. So that's my philosophy of life, of how we solve these problems. Everybody's got to put in on the group project. And I'll just say one more thing about that. What's helpful about the group project is, in a room such as this, someone may say, y'all need to do something about that. And you'll point to City Hall and say, y'all need to do something about homelessness. And you really have to know that's an unfair burden to put on one institution. And if you raise your salaries to $20 an hour, you might help alleviate people from being homeless. I don't mean to make people cringe and squirm in their seats, but just think about that. The group project requires something from all of us. So you point to City Hall and say, fix it, Mayor. I'm going to fix it with your tax dollars. Right? It's not magic money. It's going to be, okay, either raise taxes or come figure out some kind of, gross way to grab it from you in some kind of way, or we ask you to contribute in this group project, and that's how we will resolve it, if I'm making any sense.
So the three things we've talked about at the Chamber on downtown initiatives, right? Clean and safe, homelessness, and then more residential. Let's talk more residential. What are you guys doing at the city, and what can we do as far as creating more residential downtown?
Yeah, Rich, I have a vision that's actually shared by most of the people here, which is a vibrant downtown, a 24/7 city downtown, a downtown that has people that live in it, play in it, work in the downtown, a real neighborhood. Most folks don't see downtown as a neighborhood. They see it as just some buildings that people occupy for certain portions of the day, for work or for a sporting event or some convention. That's it. And you don't see it as a neighborhood, and that's largely in part because there are not many residential units downtown. There's a few, but not a whole lot. Our goal now is to make it a vibrant community that has as much life after 6 p.m. as it does before 6 p.m. That at night, residents are down there at their homes, walking their dogs, or going to the grocery stores, or hanging out at local restaurants and attractions. And so we have to start moving towards that. And the best way, the first way, is to bring back more residents to downtown. So that's why we bought 2 Peachtree, the building that sits pretty much over 5 Points MARTA station. It's a 41-story building, 1 million square feet. Is this building. And so 41 stories, we're going to take about 35 of those stories and make them mixed income housing. So some will be for students, maybe some will be for your workforce housing, and then some will be market rate, the penthouse upstairs, all those things. You can pay as much of the market will bear, but then some individuals will be in there with supported rents, so that they can be students at Georgia State, Georgia Tech, Morehouse, et cetera, or they can also be workforce housing. Our police officers, firefighters, nurses, doctors, well, maybe not doctors, I'm sorry, nurses, et cetera, teachers. And so we are doing what they call office to residential conversion. It's difficult, but it's doable. We're seeing it across the nation where you have these office buildings. The way we work has changed, right? People are half a week remote now. Sometimes they don't work in the same offices anymore. People are working from home. So it's a good amount of vacancies in downtowns across America. And we have some buildings that are near vacant. And so we want to offer the opportunity to those building owners to look at ways to convert those to residential. And we have tools and incentives to help them do that through Invest Atlanta and through my housing strike force to say convert that office building. We need to, of course, do the plumbing and change the bathrooms, et cetera, but we can make those housing units instead of just office units. And now you have people living downtown, which will be more vibrant, which adds more activity, and that vitality coupled with the other things that we're going to do around, sidewalks, more street lights, more paving. We plan to do a lot of paving downtown. Everybody will be on the lookout. Cleaning up our sidewalks, beautifying the area with planters and things that, we're planting hundreds of trees as well as nice plantings that the city, coupled with Central Atlanta Progress, is going to do. But also each one of you that has a building downtown, join this group project of beautifying the spaces in front of and around your buildings too.
So we've talked about residential, we talked about homelessness, and you've talked a little bit about clean and safe. Anything else on clean and safety that will come that we haven't seen yet or isn't underway?
Well, part of it is, of course, the world's greatest police department, Atlanta Police Department, working hand in hand. Working hand in hand with Georgia State's police department, working with Georgia Tech's police department, and all of the various ambassadors that are downtown and the various groups there, as well as the unit that we've created called the CARE unit, of part of the Atlanta Police Department that I created last year, which is an unarmed unit that is there to respond to non-emergencies such as car accidents, car break-ins, lost and found situations where you think something is missing, to be able to have a soft touch, but also a rapid response to various things. A car accident on Peach Street could hold up traffic and people, it could literally mess up downtown traffic. But if you have this care unit there that can help you get to where you need to be, help you with your insurance claims, get that taken care of quickly, that can get people flowing and get you out of being in, when it turns winter, standing outside your car. And that also keeps officers that are looking for bad guys, keeps them out there looking for bad guys, because if they're writing a insurance ticket for 45 minutes over a car accident, that's 45 minutes that they're not out looking for somebody doing something very bad. So we want to make sure that we keep that in mind, that part of our downtown revitalization includes safety. And then also our work with our park rangers. I see our Commissioner of Parks and Rec is here. We have a park ranger program that has officers in the park now. We've had a tremendously a much safer last couple of years due to the work that we've been doing in our parks and recreation. And our parks are a lot safer. I remember in 2021, people were afraid of certain things, going to the parks, going to the malls. Now we have park rangers in our parks, which are officers. So that means downtown parks and all the parks across the city. So the safety is there in various forms. And of course, working on our nightlife, we've done a lot to bring down challenges that were related to nightlife.
So for me, I'm a jogger, so I run down this area the whole time, and I would say that I'm not sure we celebrate enough what's going on in Centennial Yards right now, what's going on in downtown and David Cummings' development, what's gone on, and I think Kevin Duvall's here, who is the new Grand Poobah of the Georgia World Congress Center. Kevin, congratulations.
I love that, man. We got Lords and Grand Poobah. Yeah. Atlanta's moving up in the world.
Let me say this, Kevin. I would rather be a Lord. Okay, I don't know the Grand Poobah, but we.
You know when they said Lord Mayor, I said when they get to Atlanta, it's gonna be Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor. I say I know y'all Southern Baptists. Lordy Mayor.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, I'm going to let you go to questions in the audience now. Katie, you gave me a couple that I can ask of people if they want. If otherwise, raise your hand. And yes, ma'am.
Hi, Shay Watkins from Brainerd. Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
I love the concept of additional housing. In terms of the next step, in terms of, how do you support folks that have addiction issues, behavioral issues, skills development? And then part two is, what about those that don't want to be housed? There are a lot of people out there that just don't want to take that next step. How do you plan to address that?
Yeah, I think they're actually, those two questions are kind of tied together. when you've, Catherine Vassell is here somewhere, I saw her walk in. Catherine is over Partners for Home, and she's been doing an amazing job over these years in helping to house people that are unsheltered. Thousands and thousands of people every year, we house them. When you see one homeless individual, you've only just met one homeless individual. You can't broad stroke everybody, right? So some are dealing with addiction, some are dealing with mental challenges, some are dealing with domestic violence, they're running from it, and various things of that nature. So, but I would say those individuals that seemingly don't want to be housed, it's because they've had a bad experience with trusting those individuals that said they were going to take care of them. And I mean, I can't paint a broad brush on everybody. It may be onesie, twosies. But when I've sat down and talked to folks, they're like, man, last time they put me in a shelter and then my stuff got stolen and that guy that always beats me up, he's in there and blah, 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 blah. Like they have stories that are real to them. And then we have to go out there and try to solve for that. And when you don't have enough funding and you don't have enough group will, then you have fewer and fewer options to solve for these things that these people have going on. And so then you just kind of, and you go with the easiest cases to resolve. This person lost their job, now they're homeless, help them get back on their feet, boom. Those are solvable much easier, but the longer someone has stayed on the streets, the more acute and their challenges are, and the more people have tried to help them, and now they're getting way, way, way far into the deep end of trouble, and it really requires a lot of wraparound services and a lot of care and expense. And so, you know, I'm an engineer, so I try to put things in formulas and be linear. This has been the toughest thing to deal with because it's not linear. So you help somebody today and you give them some keys and they're fine. 3 months later, you're like, now, why are you sleeping back over here again? This is comfortable to me because I don't understand that. Okay, now Catherine and them have to find another solution for that person. They need a group to live with versus an individual or what have you. So, I mean, this is my long answer made short is it takes a myriad of solutions to solve for this one person's life issues. And last year we had 2,400 individuals that were experienced homeless that we got into homes. That took a lot of work. Every single individual, 2,400. So when you see a lot of people sleeping on the streets, just know that there could have been 2,400 more. We keep housing people, but people keep entering our system through having more month than money wherever they last lived. They might have lived in some Alpharetta, had more month than money, or had a domestic violence situation, and they will find themselves in the city of Atlanta. And so that's why we're thankful for anybody that's partnering with us to help with wraparound services. Anybody that wants to invest in mental health, anybody that wants to help with drug addiction or alcohol addiction, or anybody that can help with domestic violence and getting people back on their feet, those folks will help us solve this affordable housing and unsheltered situation a lot better than just us, because we're going to build the housing. They're going to be able to go in there, but we want them to graduate out of these housing units and get reacclimated with their families or go on to better living on their own with a stable household income.
Yep, sure.
Thank you, Rich. And thank you, Mayor, for everything you're doing. Jim Durrett with the Buckhead Coalition and the Buckhead CID. I'd like for you to talk a little bit more about homelessness and the perception of a lack of public safety or the creation of an unsafe environment. A few incidents years ago in Buckhead led to, in large part, the idea of splitting Buckhead apart from Atlanta because people felt it was unsafe when, in fact, Buckhead is the safest place in Atlanta. On MARTA, you ride the train, you ride buses, there are homeless people that are there, and it creates among some the perception that it's unsafe. What will the city do to assure residents and workers and visitors that it's not an unsafe situation when you're seeing so many people unsheltered on the streets?
Yeah, no, that's thank you for that question, because, you know, the perception it becomes reality to you, right? To individuals. I have great statistics that show that crime is down. I have great statistics that show that homicides are down. I have great statistics that show that individuals that are experiencing homelessness are not the ones that are the likely ones to, hurt, harm, or cause you any danger. It's domestic partners. It's people that you get into a dispute with. Those, sometimes your brother on brother crime or husband on wife crime is what I've seen more times than not in the city of Atlanta. But the perception is still hard to overcome. It takes one homeless person committing one bad act, and now this is news story all day, and it makes everybody scared. What we're trying to do is do a few things. One is optics, and the optics are to make sure that you have a police presence, you have somebody with a badge, you have somebody of authority that can be visible, but they're also equipped with anti-bias, de-escalation training. They have a soft touch, but they also are very visible. So if you are not from an urban place, but you walking around the city, you see somebody experiencing homelessness, but you also see a police officer or somebody with authority, you have some balance to your optics, right? Which it's all for it's in case of emergency, but rarely is there an emergency, but it's good for the optics. The other thing is to continue to house those individuals that are experiencing homelessness as rapidly as possible. So that's what we call these rapid rehousing, because that's what we're building things out of modular units, shipping containers. If right now I was to try to do a regular construction of a multi-story building, it'd take 36 months or something. But these modular units, we're building those in 4 to 6 months. So the quicker we can do this stuff, the more you can see people get the help that they need and putting wraparound services with them so that they're in a better state of being and that they're also hopefully able to get reacclimated to society. The other thing that we're gonna do is make sure that downtown is brighter, more street lights, more just vibrancy, so that you will feel safer. You'll be able to see further down the road. You have call boxes here and there. These Ikes that we have, you can utilize them for safety if you need it. So I say that just a lot of feeling of safety is going to make you be safer, essentially. And our ambassador force with Central Atlanta Progress and our various other partners that are out there is going to help with that as well. On MARTA does have, they have MARTA Police, and then they have this squad that is also on the MARTA trains and buses that are they are unarmed but capable of calling for support, and they kind of tell those individuals that might be taking up too much space as a somebody experiencing homelessness. They tell them, let's get this kind of cleaned up, and let's get you to something that's helpful. And the same thing at the airport. We have the Hope team, et cetera, so that as you're going in and out of the airport, airport is a public space. You ride the last train stop on MARTA, you end up in the airport, and can't just walk around discriminating and saying you look homeless. You get out, that you can't do those things. So it is essentially a task of making sure that everybody is treated with care, but at 11 p.m. everybody's got to be out of the terminal, out of the atrium.
Michael.
Hey, good morning, Mayor Michael Paris with the Council for Quality Growth. First, congratulations on your announcement this morning. That is great to hear. We spend a lot of time talking about infrastructure around the region, and you've touched on this already. Announcing plenty of paving downtown. Can you expand on that a little bit in terms of downtown infrastructure, traffic congestion relief, all these kinds of things? How is that funded, and what kind of timing might you be talking about?
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff to do in a short amount of time. And it's going to take some coordination. Not only do we want to pave the road, but we also want to make the road more user-friendly, whether that's with bike lanes, whether that's with making sure that we have lanes for street parking in some places and not in others. But also, we know that we have a 100-year-old water infrastructure that runs underneath every road. That's where the pipes are. The pipes are under the roads. The pothole is caused by leaks that are in the pipes. The pothole isn't just a thing that happens because you run over it enough times. it's really water that's creeping up from the bottom. So at some point, we have to tear up every road in Atlanta, in America, too. You have to tear up the road, replace the pipe, then fill back in the dirt and repave that road. Now, we can't do every road at the same time because clearly we don't have enough money to do every road at the same time, nor do we want the coordination nightmare of not getting you to where you need to be. So we are in the process right now of looking at what's the oldest and most dangerous situation that could occur, which pipes need to be replaced first, which pipes go to critical infrastructure like Grady Hospital, Emory Hospital, et cetera, and other critical places that we need on an absolute human level. They have to have water infrastructure for our survival. Well, those pipes need to get fixed, and those roads get paved over after that. We don't want to pave that road, then go in there and dig up the pipe and then repave it, right? So we have engineers and project managers right now that is doing that equation. What's oldest and what's most critical infrastructure that needs to be replaced, and then replace it and then pave over those roads. At the same time, we're talking about light synchronization so you can get through downtown faster. We're also talking about sidewalks and a number of other things that we need to do for downtown, but across the whole city, but we're starting with downtown.
Good morning, Mayor. Ken Ashley with Cushman & Wakefield. You announced a significant fundraise at the top of this meeting. You got a big room here. You asked for additional funds. What would they be used for?
Yeah, absolutely. I have people in the room that you got Josh Humphreys here, and you got Courtney English there. These are and Catherine. These are folks that are a part of our housing strike force. And the housing strike force is about building or preserving housing as fast as humanly possible. So we're going to be building more units of housing for those that are experiencing homelessness, as well as housing for low-income individuals downtown and throughout the city of Atlanta. So this money will be used to house folks and to pay for wraparound services. The thing I'll also say is we're asking you for money, asking your businesses for money, and then we're also asking for your commitment, your voice, and your support in this matter. The city is just one city, and we are 10% of the metropolitan area. So there's 90% of other folks that has to get involved in this. I don't believe that everybody that's homeless downtown was in downtown Atlanta, a year ago. They were somebody's resident other than Atlanta's resident at some point, some short time ago. And so when you have more month than money in your regional, county, you sometimes migrate to downtown. I would like for the region to support their challenges just as we're supporting these challenges, encouraging these town centers and county seats and these regional leaders to go about providing for shelters, provide for affordable housing, to provide for wraparound services in the communities where they are. That means Cobb, DeKalb, Gwinnett, everybody, Henry County, Douglas County, they all need to, when you find a county that has less than 100 beds for homelessness, they are underserving that community. And who has to pick up the tab for that? Atlanta, Georgia. And that is unfair. We're doing our part, but we like for everybody to be involved in this. And so continue to encourage county leaders, continue to encourage these regional large churches that mean well. Hey, these big parking lots can be used for housing. That big community center is great for basketball, but it certainly could be used for shelters and showers for people that are experiencing homelessness. So I am not shy about the group project. The group project is not just folks that are in the city of Atlanta. The group project is for all of North Georgia. So put in on the group project, everybody.
Dexter. Dexter, last question.
Lord Mayor, first of all, thank you for your service. Did I get it right? Lord Mayor, not
Yes.
Lordy. Lord
Not
Mayor.
Lordy, Mayor.
Not Lordy. So my first of all, I appreciate the announcement this morning. Yeah. I appreciate you and your team leaning into downtown Atlanta. You've inherited a lot as mayor. You've heard a lot, and appreciate your energy and enthusiasm you bring to leadership to the city of Atlanta, to the region. So my question is, we're rapidly approaching the 30th anniversary of when the Olympics were in Atlanta. Just a couple of short years will be the 30th anniversary. One of the things I appreciate about the city of Atlanta, back then, we prepared for the world to come to Atlanta. From the infrastructure in terms of ingress, egress into the city, everything you talked about this morning, it was just immaculate. We even looked like Buckhead during that time. But now, you look at Buckhead, you look at Midtown Atlanta, then you look at downtown, it's like two cities. It's like night and day between downtown Atlanta, Buckhead, and Midtown. So I hope that whatever we do over the next few years, that we can have some sort of system in place that it doesn't go back to where we are today. Because back then, it was like immaculate. It was just lovely. It was. So my question and statement is, I hope that whatever we do as community stakeholders, not just the mayor, but all of us in this room, whatever we do, we put it in place, and it's going to be a legacy place so that 50 years from now, we're not talking about this conversation. 30 years from now, we're not talking about this conversation. 20 years from now, we're not talking about this conversation. We get it together, and it's in place. It's forever. And that's what I hope we can aspire as our long-term vision, the leaders in this room, that we figure it out, and we put a plan in place, an infrastructure in place, that it doesn't go away.
So I lived through the Olympics, and I think that there was it was a great time. A lot of good things happened. I think that what we have to do beyond that is make sure that it works for Atlanta beyond the games, beyond the once the lights go down and once the people leave, what are you left with? A lot of people talk to me about World Cup all day, and I'm like, I'm very excited. We're going to be ready, and we got a lot of people working on it. But I plan to live in Atlanta in 2027. People will World Cup us to death and act like that is, and then lights off and the apocalypse happen and we all go on to zombie land or something. That's not the end of the game. The game is to build a city that thrives forever. The things that are happening in Centennial Yards, that is $5 billion worth of investment that's going to happen downtown, and it's going to live beyond 2026. It's going to live for a long time. What's happening right now with David Cummings in South Downtown, the investments in buildings that are already standing. This is to do historic preservation, some beautiful buildings, some of them been around for a century, to try to revitalize these downtown structures at a human scale. These aren't going to be 50-story buildings. These are 5-6-story buildings that are going to be a beautiful downtown with vibrancy, restaurants, retail. That's happening right now. And also the work that's happening, of course, Rich McKay and the Falcons are not stopping what they're doing around their developments, and what's happening throughout with the city of Atlanta at 2 Peachtree and the various things that we're doing. Underground has big plans for new construction and development. Chanel and his team right there at Underground Atlanta. So, and let's not forget that the Russell family owns a substantial amount of land in Castleberry, and the things that the Russells and Jay Bailey and all of them are working on. So this is a time where we coordinate and we get this right. You will have a vibrant downtown that goes beyond 2026. It will go for decades and centuries more. But we have to do it right, and we have to have the right push, like what you're giving us, Dexter, to make sure that we don't just haphazardly do it or rest on our small projects, get a good a ribbon cutting and go on our merry way. No, I think that we have to be diligent about building the future that we all want to have, and that goal is that Atlanta's downtown is a 24-hour, very vibrant community that people want to live in, that seniors want to live in, that you'll see school students going to and from class mixed in with individuals going to and from work, folks going to and from games. The Stitch is going to connect a part of downtown that has been disconnected by that large, divide of I-75, 85. So a lot of special stuff is happening right now, and it's about a 5 to 10 year play to last pretty much a century. So we make these investments coordinated in the right way right now. We can turn what some see as a blight spot in our city to a bright spot in our city.
All right, with that, I think we will let the mayor go, and I want to thank he's the involuntary captain of the group project. And so as the involuntary captain of the group project, we say thank you, Mayor. We appreciate everything you've done for us, everything you're doing for us. Love the vision, love the passion. And by the way, rise up on Sunday. We need a W. Thank you, guys.
Rise up.